Hey everybody! Hi. Facebook is confusing me a little bit because they changed something here, but I think we are live and I think we're good to go. And I think I'm Lisa Rose, and welcome to today's Love Stream. Today I'm going to be chatting with you about something that is probably one of the number one biggest complaints that I hear from my clients. I hear this from my male and my female clients. It's something that I have experienced, and I have found it very, very frustrating until I found a workaround for it. So today I'm going to be sharing that workaround with you. Before I do, I'm just going to introduce myself. My name is Lisa Rose. I'm a love and dating coach. I'm the founder of Deeper Love, Better Sex. And I help successful singles get good at dating so they don't get frustrated and give up before they meet their match. So let's get started. So like I said, this is probably one of the biggest points of complaint and frustration. By the way, if you're here, please pop in, please say hello in the comments. Let me know who's listening. And if you have any single friends in your circle of friends here on Facebook, this would be a great one to share if you feel like doing that. So I can't tell you, I think pretty much every client that I've worked with, and probably also every girlfriend that I've ever talked to, has told me that they are sick of going on dates where they sit across from somebody who monopolizes the conversation. And hi, Mindy. And I am so with you on that frustration. So I want to just tell you a little bit about why that happens, because when I figured this out, it helped me feel less judgmental and less angry about this dynamic. So when we're nervous, we tend to compensate for that by doing one of two things: either getting quiet if you lean more towards shy, or hogging the conversation if you're more of an extrovert. But it's a symptom of being nervous, right? So when I understood that, it allowed me to just feel a little bit more compassion and a little more gentle. I don't think that that's something that I do, because I have learned how to kind of be having a conversation, but also tracking for how much they're listening, how much they're engaged, how much they're interested. And if I'm not sensing a lot of that, or I'm also just tracking for mutuality. So my inclination is not necessarily to hog the conversation. So that was the first part, is realizing that it's kind of like it's a way to manage some nervousness and some distress. So the other day, I was out on a meet and greet with somebody new, and he was doing that. Here's how it would go. He would ask me a question. I would, give an answer, and then he would immediately start telling me about how it was for him. And I noticed myself getting frustrated and feeling tight inside, because actually that's a kind of conversation style that will really shut me down, because I start to feel like he's not really interested. He's more inclined to just tell me about him. And I think the biggest thing is, for me, I want to feel like somebody is really curious about me and wants to know my heart and wants to know what makes me tick. And the only way that they're going to do that is if he can stay present to follow his curiosity and keep inquiring about who I am, rather than get some small little piece and then he wants to tell me about me. So I was noticing all of that frustration, and here's what I used to do with that. I used to get up in my head. I would feel the irritation and the anger, but I would also go into a lot of judgment about it. And I would judge him by thinking things like, God, how come he doesn't have better skills? And how come he can't tell that he's hogging the conversation? And how come he doesn't know how to relate to a woman? And then it would go more global, and I would start judging men in general, and I would feel kind of frustrated and discouraged about the whole process. I can actually remember years ago, I was out with somebody and I wasn't managing that frustration well. And instead of talking about it in a way that felt helpful and inclusive, I talked about it in a way that was from a place of irritation and annoyance. And I basically said, have you noticed that you're hogging the conversation? And actually, I wasn't interested in a second date with him, but had I been, I don't think that would have resulted in a second date. So here's what I did recently. We were having this conversation. He was asking me something, I was answering, and then he went on. So I just said, hey, Would you like to try an experiment? He said, sure. How about if you ask me a question and I answer it, and then you ask me another question? So I kind of presented it as a game, like, hey, would you like to play this game with me? This might be fun for us. I used the word experiment intentionally to kind of see if I could enroll him, and hey, want to try something different than what we're doing and see how it goes. And he immediately said yes. And I think he actually felt relieved, because I think at that moment he became aware that he was kind of hogging the conversation. And this kind of gave him another alternative that he didn't have to come up with. And I didn't do it in a pejorative, judgmental kind of a way. And that is really the operative word here. I did not do it in a like condemning, like, you're really doing it wrong, let me tell you how you can do it better. I was like, hey, want to play a different game? Want to see how this feels? And he did. And he started asking me a question, and then there was a follow-up question, and then I felt like I was more included in the conversation, and I felt more engaged, and I felt more like I was participating in our meet and greet. And so I wanted to just share this because there's always a workaround to change a dynamic that isn't going well on a date when you know how. Took me a while to figure this shit out, but now that I have figured it out, I'm not only much better at dating, but I'm really good at helping my clients get good at dating. This is a case in point. This is the kind of thing that it's super easy to trip over because it is annoying. It's not fun. But there is definitely a workaround, and there's a way of using certain kinds of language. Really equally important is the tone and the delivery, and just kind of like having some spaciousness around it. So I wanted to share that with you because I have shared this actually with a couple of clients who, when they were complaining about this, and they came back and told me that their subsequent dates went a lot better. So I imagine that if you put this into practice, it's going to really help you have more fun on your dates. If you like this kind of tip, if you are a successful single who's currently in the dating world or getting ready to be in the dating world and not quite sure what to do because it may have changed quite a bit since the last time you were a dater, pop on over to my group here on Facebook. I will post the link. It's called Dating Wisdom for Successful Singles. And I offer all kinds of tips and tools to make sure that your dating life is fun and that you enjoy the process of finding love. So if you are listening to the replay, make sure you leave a comment, ask a question, let me know that you were here, and I will be sure to respond. Have a great day. Bye.